Welcome to part 2 of the zombie apocalypse break-in. Yeah, I crack up every time that I say that. Let's get on back into this video though, shall we? This is a zombie apocalypse break-in part 2, January the 1st, 2023.
Feeding troughs of a cattle barn belonging to farmer Sadao Yoshizawa.
Did you try and keep them away?
I tried an electric fence, he said, but it didn't work. They just followed me when I came into the barn. Basically, he's given up and now puts out enough feed for both cows and bears. But hunger's not the only reason for these close encounters. As Japan's population shrinks, humans are draining out of rural areas and the bears are moving in. To find out what's going on, we met biologist Koji Yamazaki from Tokyo University of Agriculture.
This is a live trap for our study project.
Professor Yamazaki is monitoring bear health in the Okutama region west of Tokyo.
That area are recovered to the forest, so bear have chance to expand their range.
In one sense, this is a good news story. Japan is one of the only places on the planet where a large mammal is reclaiming habitat.
Don't worry, they're just getting started. They're just getting started. Really get wound up good. Give them time. They'll get to this is not just in Japan. There's animal attacks all over, excuse me, all over the place that are happening. So be prepared for that because it is coming. And it's the hand of God doing this.
And if, as biologists think, the bear population is growing, Japan will have to figure out how to protect people from bears and bears from people.
As anyone that reads the Bible knows, the tribulation found in Revelation 6, 7, and 8. When he opened the fourth seal, I heard the voice of the fourth living creature saying, "Come and see." So I looked, and behold, a pale horse. And the name of him who sat on it was Death, and Hades followed with him. And power was given to them over a fourth of the earth, to kill with the sword, with hunger, with death, and by the beasts of the earth. Jesus said, as a sign of his coming and the end of the age, there would be an increase in deception, false Christ.
That was the verse that I was referring to about the animal attacks. So, thing is, people need to be prepared. People need to be reading the Bible, and people need to be listening to God, not man. We're going to get back into this.
Psalm 18:7. Then the earth shook and trembled. The foundations of the hills also quaked and were shaken, because he was angry.
We are following breaking news out of Japan for you on this New Year's Day. Evacuations and tsunami warnings triggered after a massive earthquake. This is video of the tremors rocking a train station in central Japan. Japanese officials are warning that tsunami waves could be as high as 16 feet. Here you can see people hiding under tables at a bowling alley as the earthquake shook that building. Japan's weather agency says powerful aftershocks could continue for the next 3 days with potential building collapses and landslides. This is video of the aftermath and some buildings that have already been destroyed.
On the western shore of Honshu Island, the earth begins to tremble. Towns and cities begin to shake as a series of earthquakes rock parts of central Japan. The information board at a station in Ishikawa swings wildly. passengers on the trains gasp for air. The tectonic plates which lie beneath this region shift and slide and buckle. No deaths or injuries.
Tectonic plates, they say, shifts and buckles. They're giving God's glory to these things. Always trying to front run God. Always trying to steal His glory. That's what devils do. And do pray for these people in Japan. One of the other watchmen was reporting that they're getting earthquake swarms, and that one of them even got up to to be as large as a 7.5. And if you've ever studied science much, you realize that is one of the larger quakes that is on a large scale. I took earth science for a while, and so yes, that's a bad quake.
Have been reported, but officials report 6 incidents where people were buried under rubble. 50 separate earthquakes have been recorded by Japan's seismic monitor, including one with a magnitude of 7.6. And tsunami warnings have been issued up and down the coast. Fearing a surge in water levels of up to 5 meters, residents have been ordered to evacuate. Every minute counts, say government officials. That message was reiterated in a national broadcast by the country's Prime Minister, Kishida Fumio. Pay attention, he said. If you live in a region where tsunamis are expected, evacuate to higher ground. Roads have closed, pipes have burst, and dozens of homes have been damaged as the earth shudders beneath their feet. The people of Japan are familiar with the power of earthquakes, but this latest episode has come as a shock.
Isaiah 24:19 through 21. The earth is violently broken. The earth is split open. The earth is shaken exceedingly. The earth shall reel to and fro like a drunkard. It shall totter like a hut. Its transgression shall be heavy upon it, and it will fall and not rise again. It shall come to pass in that day that the Lord will punish on high the host of exalted ones, and on the earth the kings of the earth.
We continue to follow breaking news for you this morning. Just frightening scenes coming out of Japan on this New Year's Day. Japan's west coast reeling after a powerful 7.5 magnitude quake caused widespread damage, triggered tsunami warnings, and 4-foot tsunami waves. This is the moment that the quake struck just a few hours ago. You see that building crumbling to the ground on the screen's upper left side there, and take a look at the scene from inside of an office building.
Seeing this video, you can see just how long it goes on and just how violent that shaking is. Houses have collapsed. We have seen pictures of roofs there just fallen down. The earthquake also caused fires in some areas, and at this moment, tsunami warnings do remain in effect. They have been downgraded. You can see the initial impact of one of these tsunamis, one of these small waves there. It doesn't look like much, but this can be a threat, particularly if you get repeated waves. The warnings now are of waves of up to 10 feet.
Luke 21:11. And there will be great earthquakes in various places, and famines and pestilences, and there will be fearful sights and great signs from heaven. There are 5 earthquakes that occurred during the 7-year tribulation, 3 of which are called great earthquakes. The largest and final earthquake to ever rattle planet Earth takes place during the last half of the 7-year tribulation, as we read in Revelation 16:17 through 20. Then the 7th angel poured out his bowl into the air, and a loud voice came out of the temple of heaven from the throne, saying, "It is done." And there were noises and thunderings and lightnings, and there was a great earthquake, such a mighty and great earthquake as had not occurred since men were on the earth. Now the great city was divided into 3 parts, and the cities of the nations fell, and great Babylon was remembered before God, to give her the cup of the wine of the fierceness of his wrath. Then every island fled away, and the mountains were not found.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has vowed in his New Year's address to wreak wrath against Russian forces in 2024. His message came less than 72 hours after Moscow launched a barrage of missiles and drones at Ukrainian cities, killing 39 people in one of the biggest aerial attacks since the war began. With the war now entering its third calendar year, Zelensky said he would increase defense sector production whilst urging his Western allies to keep up support. In Moscow, Russian President Vladimir Putin adopted an equally defiant tone, praising Russia's army in his pre-recorded New Year's address to the nation. He put Ukraine front and center of his address, emphasizing that Russia would never retreat and no force could divide Russians.
Russian leader Vladimir Putin said moments ago that Russia will increase its airstrikes on Ukraine in the coming days, weeks, and months. This comes as Ukraine says that Odessa on the Black Sea coast came under assault from unmanned Russian drones just hours into the new year. One person died, at least 9 were injured. New Year's Day was officially declared a day of mourning in Ukraine, where the death toll is climbing after the large-scale attacks from Russia a couple days ago. Search and rescue operations are still underway in Kyiv, where at least 28 people were killed, 30 injured. At least 53 people across Ukraine were killed in that large-scale attack.
Now, India will also be keeping a close eye on the Indian Ocean and what happens in the South China Sea. Taiwan goes to the polls on the 13th of January. That's just 12 days from now, and these 12 days are extremely crucial. China is betting big on this election. What happens if the result does not make Xi Jinping happy? Will the Chinese president's dream of unifying Taiwan with China mean conflict in South China Sea? Beijing has been preparing to take over Taiwan by force for a while now. Xi recently sounded a warning to Taiwan. It came in the form of a New Year message. Xi Jinping said, reunification with Taiwan was a historical inevitability. He added that compatriots on both sides of the Taiwan Strait must share in the glory of national rejuvenation. Another New Year speech was delivered in Taiwan by the outgoing president, Tsai Ing-wen. She said the cross-strait relations should be decided by the will of the Taiwanese people. Xi Jinping does not agree. He believes in history, in one China, not democracy. Tsai Ing-wen's government has repeatedly warned that Beijing is trying to interfere in the election. And let me remind you, it helps China if the KMT or the Kuomintang party wins this election. The party is pro-Beijing. Meanwhile, Tsai's DPP, or the Democratic Progress Party, insists on a sovereign Taiwan. And polls say come 13th of January, it will be a neck-and-neck fight. I ask once again, what happens if the results don't make China happy? Analysts are predicting a serious conflict in the South China Sea. So will Xi Jinping's dream of one China be the trigger? And if that's the case, will the war in South China Sea be fought by just Taiwan and China? There are other disputes too. They have created several flashpoints in these dangerous waters. For example, the second Thomas Shoal and the Scarborough Shoal. Philippines and China have been facing off here. The Philippines has accused China of firing water cannons at its ships, firing laser at its vessel, also ramming into its ships. China does not deny this aggression. Instead, Beijing refers to them as legitimate controlled measures to protect its so-called territory. Beijing has for long been preparing for a war here, all the while embracing in grey zone in the hope to make quiet but substantial gains. And that's actually worked well for China. It has also militarized 3 Spratly Islands, created 7 military outposts in the area. And China is not the only one preparing for a conflict in these waters. After Ferdinand Marcos Jr. won the presidential election in the Philippines, he expanded the U.S. military footprint in his country. This was under EDCA, or the Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement. It authorizes the United States to station forces across 9 locations in the Philippines. Some of these sites are near the Spratly Islands. Some of these sites face Taiwan. The Philippines believes if and when China invades Taiwan, Manila will most likely get involved. These face-offs with China at sea have added to this conviction. What they have also done is push Manila closer to Washington. You see, a war in the South China Sea will not be limited to just 2 parties. The US, and in particular its President Joe Biden, have repeatedly vowed to go to war if China invades Taiwan. Japan has started rearming itself in the meantime. It is preparing to be dragged into this war. Vietnam and China had a recent standoff over oil drilling in 2023.
This was just a brief look at some of the things going on around the world in this zombie apocalypse break-in. There will be a link in the description box if you choose to watch the rest of this video.